but only for real property. So there's two components to a 1031 exchange. Real property, which I think the majority of you deal with in the room, and personal property. Personal property is gone as of January 1st. It was completely eliminated. So if you don't know the difference between personal property and real property would be the bare land, the single family home, the condo, the duplex, the triplex, the fourplex, the 20-unit building, the office building, the industrial building. That's all real property. There's some other things that are real property as well. Personal property would be the airplane, the boat, the yacht, they're different. The jet, they're different. Livestock, equipment, franchises, collectibles. So if you're selling a Monet, you can do a 1031 exchange on it to buy other collectible artwork. We do these all the time. When you're selling a semi-truck and you have a fleet, they're on depreciation schedules. We do 1031 exchange for that. Vintage cars. When you sell a gas station, there's components to a gas station. There's the real property and the personal property. All the personal property stuff, gone, eliminated, not coming back. We fought hard to keep 1031, and it was going to be eliminated probably about 4 months ago until we finally got in front of Kevin Brady and got him to understand. And at the end of that meeting, he said to my boss, he goes, John, can you explain to me what depreciation recapture means? And when he said that, we knew he had no clue, and we finally got him right there, because depreciation recapture was the whole thing that they were proposing that was going to be a solution when they implemented immediate expensing. We don't need to go in depth about that, but we need to know that if 1031 exchanges were gone and it was this close, the real estate market would have been hit significantly. Over 35% of the property qualifies for a 1031 exchange out there for residential property. Commercial, 100% of it qualifies for a 1031 exchange. What's the 1031 exchange? It's when I sell and buy investment property and I have the beautiful luxury of paying absolutely zero in capital gains tax. By the way, the average in Cali is 30% I pay on my gain. So if I bought it for 100 and I sold it for 400, I have a $300,000 gain, I pay $100,000 pretty much in taxes if I don't do a 1031 exchange. Whereas I could sell a 3-unit building and buy a 4-unit building, preserve all that equity, have 4 doors instead of 3, maybe a newer building, maybe a better building, maybe a different location, maybe anywhere in the US. I think you're looking Bay Area though. But that's the beauty of a 1031 exchange. Or if that 3-unit building wanted to be sold, and I just want to buy a single family home that I'm going to move into eventually, we can make that magic happen. People always ask me, why do people do 1031 exchanges and what do you do for a living? And I always tell them, go out and make dreams come true, baby. Because I can get this to turn into that, and I can keep all of this equity. And I don't want to pay Sam, I don't want to pay Jerry, and I don't want to pay Barack. And they still get paid on the sale of property, because that did not change. Capital gain rates remained the same. Thresholds were increased just a little bit. So that 3.8%, that's Obamacare, you still pay that. That 20% or 15%, that's federal tax, you still pay that. That state tax in Cali, it's 9 to 13%. You're going to fall in one of those categories. In California, in the Bay Area, you're probably more than 30% if you're high net worth. This did not change. I'll tell you what did change. And these are some of the things that sucked. Number one, we have a limitation now. Before, our property taxes, unlimited. State taxes, unlimited. We could write it off. So if we did really well and have a property that we pay a lot of property taxes in, we could write that all off. Now our limit is $10,000 per year. This is for your primary and your second home. This does not include investment properties. How does this impact us? This hurts. If we have a good year, are we going to hit 10,000 just in what we would pay state tax alone? That does not include the property taxes that we could write off on our primary and our second home. We're limited to $10,000. Number two, the mortgage interest deduction. This one was hit as well. We're in Castro Valley, so some of these people that are buying properties are going to be hit. Before December 15th, 2017, we could write off $1 million in mortgage interest deduction. That has been reduced to $750,000. This is including your primary residence and your second home. So if the two of those mortgages together exceed that amount, you're capped off at $750 if you're buying December 15th forward. If you bought it prior to, you're grandfathered into $1 million. And the good news is you can refi, rate term, don't cash out, and you can still keep it at $1 million. But the moment you take money out, done. And they hit us again and they go, you know what? HELOCs. No more. Can't write that off either, unless it has to do with improvements done on the property. How are you going to differentiate all that from what you can take today? Talk to your CPA. And don't call your CPA right now either, because they still haven't figured it out. Call them probably in April. It's going to take a full quarter to figure this out. So after this tax reform happened, I went to my CPA right after, and I said, is this true? Is this true? Is this true? And then the other question I said was, well, I own investment property, and I go, do I need to switch these properties into a corporation now? Because if you read everything that changed, individual, corporation wins every single time. So I wouldn't make any changes right now, but I would visit with my CPA in the coming months to find out if maybe it's time to change the way you hold your real estate assets, and perhaps going into a corporation could benefit you better because they have all the advantages that they didn't have prior to. It's funny, I went to watch an economist last month, and they said everything is going to boom for the corporations, like the Salesforce, the Google, but the individual employers are the ones that are going to get hit, because we did get smacked down just a little bit, especially for that limitation of $10,000. However, it's still a good time to die. Right? Yeah, it's still a good time to die. Let me explain why it's a good time to die. First off, what's the benefit of dying in real estate?
You don't care.
Okay. Unlike God, I am out there looking to inherit real estate. I'm not looking to die and give it away. So what is the benefit of real estate and death? Somebody said, Larry, we get to step up in basis. That was not changed. This one's huge, right? Because if I buy the property in Castro Valley many years ago for $100,000, today it's worth $800,000. My parents, or whomever, they have a huge gain on that, right? Because their basis is what they originally bought it for. Capital improvements, depreciation, we don't even get into that, but it's very low. When they pass, this $100,000 goes up to current value. Let's just say $800,000. We sell it the next day. How much tax do we pay? Zero. This is a huge benefit. So dying in real estate has remained very, very smart. Now, what you don't want to do is do what the Menendez brothers did.
Ow.
You know, when you're older, you can you plan out the death naturally. You don't plan it out like they did. And the benefits have just really gone to our advantage, because a married couple is 22.4. Here's the bad news. Is anybody in this room in a position to inherit $22.4 million? It doesn't probably affect that many people. Again, when you look at these tax changes, it really impact. Yeah, a lot of people say, yeah, you're to die, let's make this happen. Only if you have money. Okay. Oh, don't go killing somebody if they don't have. Well, first off, make sure you get in the trust to inherit. Otherwise, this does nothing for you, because you may think you're the good son. And I've been working on this for many, many years. But you may not be, and you may be putting yourself in a really ugly situation for nothing. So, state tax, HELOC, MIP, 1031. Anything else you guys want mentioned on tax reform that I'm forgetting right now? Income tax brackets were changed. We got a little break there. So there's still the same number of income tax brackets, but the highest ones have been reduced a little bit. So that was kind of advantageous. I think the moral to all of this tax reform thing, especially in terms of real estate, because you guys got hit hard on what you can do now in terms of write-offs. That I don't know, but I think the moral to all of this is talk to your CPA. And don't talk today, because I keep on asking my CPA, what's the deal on these things and what should I be doing? We're still trying to figure it out. We're still getting conference calls. There are so many tax attorneys that I've spoken to that said, this is just one of the most messed up things that have ever been put together, and we really don't know how it's going to be rolled out completely yet, but we'll figure this out. So all realtors, all lenders, all affiliates in the room, do not answer tax and legal questions.
You know
Do
about
not
me.
answer tax and legal questions. Do you know how many calls I get per day where they say, well, you know what my realtor told me?
Ouch.
But my lender said it too.
Wow.
Hold on, get the mic out. You have the question? You have the question. All right, we're getting here.
Would you clarify if you have a first and a large line of credit and you combine the two, then is the interest tax deductible, or is the transfer from the HELOC to a fixed value?
See what I mean? Ask your CPA. I think it's a great question, but here's what will happen, because I've done this already. I'll ask 3 different CPAs, and I teach them all the time on 1031, not this stuff. And they'll give me different answers, because they really haven't figured this out. I think they're going to first. The biggest problem for 1031 exchanges, outside of finding a property in 45 days, and the 180 is usually never a problem. The biggest problem is whoever sells has to buy. And what I mean by that, and this is more for commercial than residential property. When we look to sell this asset, the only entity that qualifies for the exchange is the LLC. Well, there's a problem. And the problem is that the 3 of us don't want to buy together. That stops a lot of 1031 exchanges from happening. And the solution used to be was, okay, the only way this is going to work is if the majority of the partnership wants to move forward and the other people just want to cash out. Which could work for us, right? Because Latinos will stay together and we'll kick Guy out and we don't care about it. And now we've got majority and we can move forward in the exchange.
You're not good partners anyways. You're good stewards of
See how he hates on me? Just like that? But this happens quite often where all 3 hate each other. Or they don't hate each other, but they want to go their separate ways. In a 1031 exchange, this is a problem. Now, 2 years ago, they changed it for the irrevocable trust. And they said, okay, 3 family members inherit. If you didn't sell it when you inherited, then you got rid of the opportunity of the step up in basis, because now it's been 10 years and appreciated, and there's a taxable event. So the change they made, instead of the opportunity for only the whole trust to do it, they said, okay, if these 2 want to cash out, and if I want to move forward in the trust, you can do that, but only one can do that. But for the partnerships, it was a big problem, because they said it has to be majority or it won't work. So if the 3 of us wanted to go our separate ways, it was an issue. This has changed as of January 1st. And this was the big change. It doesn't have to be majority anymore, but it has to be more than 1. So if I wanted to move forward in this, I could get these, Guy and Jose could cash out. I could get somebody to come in with me, even my wife, to get a 1% interest of theirs and move forward, even if it's only like 34% of the transaction. So for partnerships, this was huge. I know that went through everybody's head probably for the most part, but for people that really understand partnerships in 1031, this is a big break for us, so we're happy about that. Moral to the story is I think I have 30 seconds left. Talk to of all the stories that I've mentioned, don't do a CT scan unless absolutely necessary. Make sure you're not allergic to iodine. Unless you're not allergic to iodine, it just really sucks. That's number 1. Because without your health, it really sucks. Number 2, talk to your CPA about how you hold your real estate assets or how anybody's going to buy property in the future, because things have changed to benefit things differently, and you just want to make sure you're doing the right move. Number 3, on a 1031 exchange, because over 35% of the property out there qualifies for it, it's best to call me prior to listing. It's okay to call me prior to closing. You are a taxpayer if you try to do things after the close of escrow. So if you have questions about any property that does or doesn't qualify, it's free to call me. It's really costly if you don't. James Callejas, IPX, 1031 brochures and cards. I think Guy passed them out. Thank you guys.
We have time for 1 question. All right.